Hello and Shavua Tov to everyone. We are in Parashat BeHar-BeHukotai, which are two parashot that complete the book of Leviticus, Sefer Vayikra. The reading is starting in the book of Leviticus, chapter 25, verse 1. Now, what is this about? It is like usual. There is a repetition in a bunch of parashot that are being read week after week. Why? Because there's a common thread about the personal work that each one of us has to go through during these weeks, and especially on those issues that are general for every human being during this time. So we're not just reading a certain reading from the Torah, we are reading that as guidelines for our spiritual growth and to understand what is the consciousness, what is the wisdom, what is the transformation that we are supposed to achieve during this week, what are the gifts that are given to us from the above during this time. Now, and here the story is very, very kind of a summary that fits the era of the last 10 weeks so good like never before. Because everybody is asking himself, we are now in a special period in the history of mankind. On one hand, we see in the last years that the economical growth of mankind, the improvement of the well-being of people around the world, financially, economically, housing, everybody has a cell phone. That came to a place, an achievement that have never been achieved before in the history of thousands of years of known history. And suddenly, everything comes to a halt, and it looks like years of hard work are being lost and the economies are going backwards. Why is this happening? And this is a universal phenomenon of unprecedented, nothing like, no imagination can even explain that billions of people are sitting at home in fear, or they're obliged to sit at home because of the government rules. And what is that? And we have the answer in these two parashot so clear, you have to be blind not to be able to see that. Okay, so the two parashot that are connected, because most of the years they're being read together as one. Okay, starting again with those apply from the end of Shabbat last night till the next Shabbat, and about these days. So what it's about? And then the name of the first parasha is Behar Sinai, in the Mount Sinai. What's on Mount Sinai? And here it is. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe behar Sinai lemor, and God spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai, saying, and here comes the law of Shemitah. What is Shemitah? It's called the Sabbatical. The Sabbatical starts with that law in the Torah, read in this parasha, that when the Israelites came to the Holy Land, they had to keep the Sabbatical. What's a Sabbatical? Shnat Shemitah. What does it mean? It says, for 6 years you will work the land, 6 years. On the 7th, you leave it fallow, like this is Shabbat for the land. No planting, no harvesting, no digging, no planning, no preparing for planting. You leave the land alone, and the word is called Shemitah. Shemitah is a simple word in Hebrew that means to let go. Let go. Leave it alone. Let go. And the question is, what is the issue of that parasha, and especially when in English somebody brings two things that have nothing to do with each other? You say, what is that apples to do with oranges? This is apples and oranges. In Hebrew, the expression that is kind of covering this idea that every Israeli says that when he starts talking nonsense, he says the exact words of Rashi, the great commentator from the 11th century in France. He is the biggest commentator of the Torah, and he says, Ma inyan shmita lehar Sinai. What has Mount Sinai to do with Shemitah? Why? It is known that all the mitzvot written in the Torah were given on Mount Sinai, most of them, on Mount Sinai. Okay? Now, it's the only one that it says that it was given on Mount Sinai. Why to mention Mount Sinai for this mitzvah and not the other? And the answer is as follows. When we look at the order that the Torah is giving us, there's a very particular set order. The order goes as follows. When you live in Israel, okay, and leave the issue that what if you don't live in Israel or what you're not a farmer, every family was given a place, an asset, inheritance in the land of Israel by Joshua, Moses' heir. He conquered the land, and every family except from the Levites, got a land in Israel. Okay? Now the rule was like this. You go with the game of free market, and you plant, you develop the land. What if you fail? You know, it happens. You invest. Let's say you plant mango, and you know what? After a few years, the mangoes are ripe, but everybody else planted mango. You get pennies for that. So you can't give back the investment, and the bank takes your land because that was a collateral, and over with your land, you have to move to the city, become somebody else's worker. However, in the story of the Torah, in the rules, is that 6 years you work, on the 7th year you let go of the land, and then 6 more years. When you count 7 cycles of 7 years, comes the year of the Yovel. Okay? Yovel means the 50th year, and that was somehow came from Hebrew Yovel to Jubilee in English. Jubilee is a Hebrew word, like the Yud of Yerushalayim turned Jerusalem, the Yud of Yovel turned Jubilee. Okay? And then comes the 50th year, and you also let go of the land on the 50th year. However, on the 50th year, whoever is a slave is being released. Somebody, not just he lost the money, sold his land, he also has to be sold as a slave to give back his debts. On the 50th year, freedom. And from a slave, you become a free human being because you get back your land. Okay, that's the law of the Torah. So here Rashi is asking, what's the connection between Mount Sinai and the Jubilee? And the connection is very clear about the calling of each one of us, especially these days. Okay? First of all, what is the special thing about Mount Sinai? We celebrated Passover just a few weeks ago, 5 weeks and 2 days. Okay? We celebrated Passover. But what was Passover? The holiday of freedom. Was the freedom accessible on that day? No. We went out of Egypt, but we still a bunch of slaves without their oppressors. The fact that you have no oppressor doesn't mean you're not a slave anymore. We had to acquire the level of freedom by hard work. The freedom we achieved on Passover, we had to count 7 weeks walking on the desert, in the desert, till we reach Mount Sinai on the 50th day. What's Mount Sinai? Mount Sinai is total freedom. This is what the Zohar teaches us. When we reached to Mount Sinai, there was a miracle. A whole nation of slaves. As the Zohar says, were bitten, crushed, finished. And you know what? When you want to create a new, improved human being, they have to go through a process. And when you fall and you break into pieces, you do something very important. You let go of the old you, the old belief systems, the old prejudice, the old habits, everything that whatever you felt about yourself, when you break into pieces, when you pull yourselves together, if you do, you pull yourself together, that's how you grow. That's why we have cycles in life. We have times to build and times to destroy, time to plant and time to rip it out. That's from Ecclesiastic, the 28 different times. But that's a cycle that we go through because we cannot just go up the hill. You go up a hill, you reach the top, then you climb down to reach a higher hill. The whole concept that is being taught over here is climbing the hill, climbing the mount. What was given on Mount Sinai? The consciousness that human beings are creatures that they transform. We are not here to keep it the way it used to be. We're here to move forward, to move on. However, in order to understand it, we have to understand that we have to let go. To let go of what? Look, you're working really hard. You're making money. You're achieving acquisitions. You're achieving a lot of stuff. And you're working really hard because you want to achieve, you want to see it. You want to feel the deed in your hands. You want to get all this gratification of achievement. But there's a problem. There's a problem because why do I have to lay the land? I worked so hard for 6 years. Now I want to see the fruits. Leave it. And then comes the Zohar and says, the whole thing is that the seventh year in the small cycle and the fifth year in the Jubilee cycle, they symbolize the movement that you work and you go and you go, and there's a moment you have to let go and let God. And poof, move up. Why? And the Zohar explains, when the Israelites were complaining in the desert, the book of Numbers chapter 11, one of the complaints, the Zohar says, we remember we ate the fish in Egypt for free. For free? You worked really hard for that. You didn't get any salary, nothing. You got some fish to eat from the Nile. What for free? What is the for free? And the Zohar explains, now they didn't have paid for that. For free means they did not have responsibility to bring the godliness, the holiness, the supernatural into what they do. They did not have the yoke of the heavenly kingdom. They just saw themselves as creatures that live, get by, you get the food, you eat the food. Now, says the Zohar, you get the food, what do you do with the food? You have to make a blessing. Why do you have to make a blessing? Because you're a human being. You have to thank the Creator for the food you've got. Everyone who's working hard is making a lot of money? No. No. So who's giving you the plenty? Who's giving you the bliss? But just a second. Everybody who has a lot of money achieves real feel of gain, fulfillment, and achievement? No. Why? Because the Zohar says when you are coming to the 7th year and the 50th year, that's what Mount Sinai is about. The word BeHar in the mount has a numerical value. The letter Bet is 2, the letter Hey is 5, and the letter Reish is 200. 207, which comes to the word light, or 207. Why? We are creatures of light. We cannot just have it on the physical level. We live in an era that never before humanity is under the yoke and the slavery for physical gains. What about, who are our idols? The rich, the famous, the beautiful, the young, whatever looks physically good. Are they spiritually elevated our role models in schools, universities? No. In the media, movies? No. Only physical power, only physical wealth. What about the spiritual wealth? What about the yoke that we have as human beings to draw a meaning, a spiritual meaning into everything we do? That yoke is the precondition for real spiritual rest. So here comes the corona and tells all of us, you thought you're already in control over your life? No, get to your room, sit there, think. Some people love it. Why? Why do some people enjoy tremendously being at home during the closure of the corona? And the answer is the moment you're not a slave anymore to this physical gain, and you can reach inside your soul, you can reach outside to others, and you can create your inner peace on your own without the need for any affirmation from an object, from a person. You are free. You achieve inner peace unconditional. That was the message that was given to humanity on Mount Sinai. When does that happen? When you have values higher than materialism. When you have spiritual values higher than the values of make it. No matter what are the values, there's only one value, which is the bottom line. How much money you made. Doesn't matter who did you step on, who did you betray. It doesn't matter. These are the values of our generation. And the result is you let go. Here it is. You're stuck and you can. Was it? No, no. Even before that, we see a plague of people that are addicted to drugs, antidepressants. Why? Because a person deep inside or externally is saying, what's wrong with me? I have everything. Why can't I have inner peace? How does the Torah call that sabbatical? Menucha. Menucha means rest, but it means also inner peace. These parashot are about how do we achieve inner peace. Inner peace, true inner peace, can be achieved only when we have what the Zohar says, the yoke of the kingdom of heaven. When we have the commitment for the universal rules of spirituality. Love others as you love yourself. 2 tablets. Mount Sinai. Do not steal. Do not kill. Do not lie. Do not covet something that does not belong to you. You want it? Work for it. You see what's nice with somebody else? No problem. Work. What did they do in order to happily under love others as you love yourself? You go by the universal laws of cause and effect. You bring the spiritual light into everything you do. You're not a slave anymore. You have a role. Slaves are exempt of the mitzvot. Why? They're just like animals. They just get by. They just eat because they're hungry and they found food. No, free human beings, they eat not just because they're hungry. They eat because there's spiritual light given by the Creator and handed over to you. And when you bless the food, you elevate the spiritual light. You're not just consuming the vitamins, the minerals, and the nutrients. And if you didn't get it, the Torah is saying, what are we going to eat on the 7th year? And if it's a 50th year, the Jubilee, the Yovel, how we're going to eat on the 7th year and the 8th year? How are we going to eat? And the answer is that chapter 25, verse 20. And if you say, what are we going to eat on the 7th year? Okay? But if we don't plant and we don't harvest, and then it says on verse 21, you will be blessed on the 6th year, and it will give you harvest for 3 years, for the 7th year, for the 8th year, and the 9th year, till you're going to have the harvest of the year after the Jubilee. We're talking about really letting go and letting God. It's the same thing. What if I don't work on Shabbat? Everybody around is making so much money on Shabbat. But you know, Shabbat, in English, it's called Saturday. Where is that taken from? Saturn Day, the day of Saturn. In the book of Formation, related to Abraham, the patriarch, it says that Saturn is a planet, in Hebrew, Shabtai, a Shabbat, the opposite of Shabbat, which means either you connect to Shabbat, you just let go of everything and you connect to your spiritual calling, or you walk on the physical plane, and then Saturn doesn't care about anything physical. Whatever you're going to be making on Shabbat, Saturn is going to destroy it. So we need a leap of faith. We need the yoke of heavenly kingdom to understand that when we go in according to the rules of the universe, it looks like to the untrained mind that other people make more money than me, faster, because they betray, they step on other people. But I know there's no inner peace, there's no real fulfillment. I cannot bring the spiritual magic of flight into everything I touch when I don't really believe in myself, have faith that I have the power to inject bliss into everything I touch when this is my belief system. That's an amazing message. So what's the next parasha? Parashat BeHukotai. Chapter 26, verse 3. And it says, "In BeHukotai telechu v'et mitzvotai tishmeru." If you go in my laws, walk in my laws, and you observe my mitzvot. So the same Rashi is asking, what do you want to tell me? That the laws and the mitzvot are two different things? Yes. They are the universal laws of cause and effect. The universal laws of cause and effect mean that we, human beings, came to this world to turn the darkness into light and the bitterness into sweet. If we wanted everything to be perfect, we could have stayed in the upper world. We did not. If we're here, it's because we wanted to change. We wanted the ability to create holiness, sanctity into nothingness, to imbue it, inject it into everything we do, to learn how to be honest, to learn how to have faith in the rules beyond what we can see. Can you see the virus? No, you can't see God either. You cannot see these laws either. However, if you work on it, you start realizing that the light of the Creator is everywhere. You just have to adjust to it. We just have to train ourselves to structure our belief system according to it. And if you go by that, what are the mitzvot? The mitzvot are the tools of connecting to light, to spiritual light. So there's love others as you love yourself. I don't love other people in order to make them love me. I do it because it's a way to be a tool, a priest of the light, and bring it to the world. Honesty, these are means. The goal is living by the rules that say you want to achieve light, you have to overcome darkness. You want to achieve fulfillment, you have to walk on the road from one level to another, 7 weeks, 7 days a week, 7 years. The whole message of Mount Sinai was you climb up the ladder and finally you reach the 50th gate, Mount Sinai Revelation, which is the real epitome of inner peace and total freedom. What do I mean total freedom? Nothing can break my inner peace. Nothing can destroy my wholeness. Nothing can threaten me. Why? I know that there are many forces around, but the endless light of the Creator is above everything, and that's the yoke of the heavenly kingdom. That's also connected because that is what we spoke about last week. If you listen to it about the awe, Yir'ah, we are the month of Iyar. In the counting of the Omer, 50 days, step by step of moving up the ladder. It's not just for this week. It's a consciousness we need to experience and achieve and to draw into ourselves during this week. The consciousness that we are moving up the ladder. We have hope. So whoever remembers the message of the Talmud about the bats and the roosters, if you are a rooster, even if it's dark, you know that after the dark night is always a sunrise. So you're never in despair. When things are hard, you don't just throw everything, throw the yoke, say, but it's too hard. No, it's not too hard. Just before it's getting light, it's getting the darkest. When you think like this, when you live like this, you are in the light permanently because you have the ability to bring in the light in the dungeon, in the hardest moments when everybody else is in mourning, everybody is falling apart, stuck, whatever. You can bring in the light. Then you have no problem to sit at home for 2 months because you're happy. On the other hand, if you are not into it, you're only in what you can hold in your hand, whatever is physical. You need the rush. You need the drugs, the drug of success, making another acquisition, whatever. You need that. You know what? It doesn't last. That's a bat. That's a bat of the coronavirus. That's a message. We have to sit at home in order to find the blessing inside, with the people we love, with the home we created for ourselves, just to appreciate, enjoy whatever we are unconditionally. And if not, that if you go with these laws, if you follow the rules, then you will experience endless love, bliss, and protection from anything. That's what the Torah is saying. Chapter 26. However, if we did not, if we become slaves to our body consciousness, if we become slave to the idol worshiping of the economy around us. Then everything will fall apart in front of us. In front of us. Everything will fall apart. You build and it will be destroyed. That's called, if you learn astrology, that's a Saturn consciousness. Whatever you create, poof, is destroyed. You go against your enemy, you fall apart, you break into pieces, you run away, even from a shadow. Still, at the end of Parashat BeHukotai, even if you are in the darkest place, God will never forgive you, because He did not create you to go into dooms, into oblivion. Everyone is finally going to be redeemed. However, you will have to go through the lesson. And this is the lesson of this weekly parashot, this amazing time to learn to find our inner peace, the true, authentic, magical inner peace of the heavenly kingdom. We are supposed to inject into every moment of our lives, moment by moment, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, life after lifetime, till we achieve that Mount Sinai revelation of total freedom. It's awaiting for everyone. Thank you so much, and have a great week.